Welcome to Panda Tale. I hope you have a great time listening to the story. If you enjoy it, don't forget to give me a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. After our wedding, he treated me with all kinds of contempt, mocking my rough voice and great strength, thinking of every way to abandon me. I beat him all night long and said, "When you pass the imperial examination and become the top scholar, I'll agree to divorce." Later, when he actually became the top scholar, I planned to divorce and run away to find a country husband. But he led people to block my path, his eyes red with rage. "You hit her. I know you're having an affair with that little gardener in the mansion, aren't you?" My parents died early. My father was a gambling addict. To pay off his gambling debts, he sold me to the Wei family for 10 silver taels to be a young mistress for their wedding celebration. The person I was to marry was the third young Master Wei, William Wei, the most useless person in the city. Half a month ago, while trying to retrieve a handkerchief for Miss Zhao, he fell into the river and became bedridden with illness. He couldn't even stand up for our wedding ceremony. So my groom for the bowing ritual was a large rooster. When looking for the bridal chamber, I heard the maid Little Jade secretly mocking me. "Country bumpkin. When the young master dies, let's see how many days you can be happy." I didn't know how many days I'd be happy, but I knew she was done for. After saying this, I pulled down my veil, dragged her before the old madam, and reported, "Grandmother, she cursed your grandson to die early." The old madam's face changed color upon hearing this. The head housekeeper immediately slapped Little Jade several times, making her cheeks swell before dealing with her. After handling Little Jade, the old madam kept me back and gave me some sweet cakes, teaching me that I must treat William well. When I met William, it was already dark. His face was deathly pale, wearing the wedding robe and lying on the bed. From afar, he really didn't look like a living person. I checked if he was still breathing, then pressed my head against his chest to listen. Still breathing, not completely dead yet. Perhaps my head was too heavy, crushing William awake. He coughed non-stop. A moment later, when he discovered me, he frowned. "What ugly monster is this?" William was very handsome. Compared to all the men I had met in my previous half-life, he was more beautiful than all of them combined. But he called me ugly. I couldn't hold back and gave him a punch. "I'm your wife. Grandmother already said we must live in harmony. You can't talk to me like that." William gasped for breath, clutching his chest. "Wife? Other people marry gentle, dignified ladies like Miss Zhao, while you— how can someone as ugly as you be my wife? I'm very strong and good at fighting. If you keep talking like that, I'll beat you up." William was a man with backbone. After being beaten by me for half an hour, he only silently shed tears without crying out. The bride was exhausted, so I leaned against William and fell asleep. He had a faint medicinal scent that was very soothing. After a long night, William's hand had gone numb from my weight. The first thing he did upon waking was write a divorce letter. "Look clearly, this is a divorce letter. This young master doesn't need an ugly thing like you. Here's the divorce letter." I happily picked it up and asked him to read it to me. "This is the wife of Wei, William Wei." He had only read 6 characters before stopping. Oh, he didn't even know my name yet. Emmeline, I reminded him. "Here's the pen, write it yourself." This was my first time in such a large study, my first time holding a brush. Before, I could only stand outside the school listening to the old scholar read, then use willow branches to scribble on the ground at home. I made up the characters myself. The 3 characters Emma I wrote were terribly crooked, like ghostly talismans. William laughed until tears came. "Emma, you're both ugly and stupid." After laughing, he cried, "Marrying a wife who's both ugly and stupid like you, I'm truly pitiful." Wah wah wah. When he cried, I hit him. Since I knew he could write, I went easier than last night. We tangled with each other all morning. Finally, I learned to write the Lun character in Emma. After finishing, breakfast time had passed. The Wei family didn't have lunch. Soon after, I heard William's stomach growling. "Are you hungry? Want some fried eggs?" My fried eggs are very fragrant and delicious. Yesterday when I arrived at the Wei family, I had already scouted everything out. William was very picky about food. There was a special kitchen just for him in the mansion. Fried eggs. Emma, what kind of person do you take me for? His voice was full of anger. I cracked an egg and used animal fat to fry a full pan. Before serving, I grabbed a handful of freshly picked green onions from the garden to top it. The rice mixed with fat and a bit of soy sauce, the taste was absolutely wonderful. William stared in disbelief at me. Emma, are you a pig, eating an entire bowl of rice? And you ate it all clean without leaving me a single bite. I wouldn't tell him that I hadn't made a portion for him in the first place. Carrying a belly full of anger, William finally remembered he needed to pay respects to his grandmother. You wait here. If I don't kick you out of the mansion today, I'll take your surname. I swallowed my last bite of rice and nodded. This was the fullest meal I'd had since I could remember. When William went to his grandmother to complain, little Jade leaned into my ear and laughed sinisterly. You're done for. The young master will kick you out of the mansion. Little Jade was very disappointed with the result. Grandmother not only didn't kick me out, but even gave me a gold bracelet. She was a person of great wisdom. Later, even when I was no longer at the Wei mansion, I would remember to burn joss paper for her. On the way back to our room, William hung his head dejectedly. Emma, what kind of sorcery did you use on grandmother to make her favor you so much? Maybe because I'm beautiful, so everyone loves me. I don't see that. Oh, only smart people can see it. William ground his teeth furiously. He didn't understand how there could be someone as thick-skinned as me in this world. But he couldn't win with words and couldn't beat me in a fight. Within just 3 days at the Wei mansion, I had won over all the servants. They all respected me, thinking I was a person of great capability. Despite offending the head maid little Jade and William abandoning me, I still gained grandmother's favor. In this household, grandmother was heaven. For a while, the threshold of Green Pavilion where William lived was almost trampled flat by servants. After half a month together, I had learned 8 characters. William, Emma, divorce letter. I'm truly the most capable young lady in the world. Knowing 8 characters is already amazing. Then if I can read the entire 3-character classic, wouldn't I be a prodigy? Will you teach me to read the 3-character classic? Idiot. The 3-character classic is this book. The one in your hand is a forbidden book. William snatched the book from my hands. Though I couldn't read, I saw his face turn so red it could drip blood. We teased each other like this for 3 months. His complexion improved day by day. Grandmother gave me another gold longevity lock. Tonight, Lord Wei had returned home. He served as an official in the capital, coming home once every 3 months. Usually, William would boast to me about how impressive and capable Lord Wei was. But when he actually came home, the father and son became awkward. Especially William, he tensed up, not going to pay respects to Lord Wei but hiding in his room playing with crickets. I asked grandmother and learned that today was William's birthday. The day William was born, Lady Wei had died in difficult childbirth. Lord Wei and Lady Wei had deep feelings for each other, so he always harbored resentment toward William, who had taken his beloved wife's life. Therefore, the relationship between father and son wasn't close. Before going to sleep, I brought William a bowl of freshly made longevity noodles, still steaming hot. Eat it all in one go, otherwise your luck will be broken. Emma, you think just because no one celebrates my birthday, I'm pitiful. Let me tell you, William, I never need such sympathy. You think just by making longevity noodles I'll remember your kindness? Dream on. His voice was full of indignation. With a crash, something broke. A shadow flashed past the window. William looked at the visitor, his eyes full of surprise. How is this possible? I quickly hugged the bowl of longevity noodles to my chest, watching the father and son face each other, eyes wide staring at eyes small. Finally, Lord Wei was the first to speak, breaking the tense silence. Emma is a good girl. You must not bully her. I strongly agreed. William heard this, and anger flared in his eyes. If those words had come from a servant boy, today he would definitely show them what the little tyrant of West Joe City was capable of. But the speaker was his father. William turned and left without responding. Lord Wei just smiled slightly, as if about to leave, but I stopped him. Father, you're a gentleman. A gentleman's word is his bond. Whatever you've promised, you cannot break your word. Lord Wei was a man who valued his reputation. When I said this, he really didn't leave. Since he wasn't leaving, I began to speak. I hugged William's old belongings and laid them out on the ground one by one. There was a kite with a broken string, a pair of torn tiger head shoes, a hand drum that had faded in color, and a wooden horse that creaked when moved. Do you remember these things? It doesn't matter if you don't remember. You're a high official carrying the burden of the capital's citizens in your heart. With such a broad mind, of course you wouldn't see the family right before your eyes. Lord Wei said nothing, but William's face reddened. He snatched his precious items from my hands. Emma, you're increasingly acting like you own the place. Who allowed you to touch these things? Put them back immediately. I placed the bowl of longevity noodles in his arms, then flicked his forehead. The crisp sound made Lord Wei wince in sympathy. Eat quickly. If you don't finish, I'll flick you to death. William, hurt by the flick, held the bowl and slurped the noodles. Though I hit William, as father and son are one, Lord Wei felt as if his own head had grown a large bump. When you're not here, my husband often tells me stories about what a good official you are, loving the people like your own children. These childhood toys, you probably don't remember anymore. That's okay. Let me tell you, these are items William bought back at high prices from the children in West Joe City. Lord Wei frowned, seemingly not understanding William's strange hobby. I picked up one toy and pointed to the missing Wei character on it. Look familiar. These were gifts you gave to the orphans in the city. Although everyone says my husband is an ignorant good for nothing, as impressive as you are, he's never bullied any women. He even used money to buy back the toys you gave away. I think you should be proud to have a son like this. No one wants to be born with only one family member left. Moreover, my husband is still foolish now. When he becomes smarter later, I'm afraid he won't even burn joss paper for a cold father. Lord Wei's face went from white to green, very colorful. Finally, something I said touched a nerve. He knelt on the ground and cried for a long time. William was stunned, then father and son hugged each other crying loudly. Actually, that night William didn't clearly remember what Emma had said. He only remembered the head flick hurt terribly, and the bowl of longevity noodles was so hot it made him cry. That night the moon was very round, the roundest moon he'd ever seen in his memory. The night was a bit cold, but his heart was warm, as if there was a furnace inside. After Lord Wei left, William became as boastful as before, returning to being the little tyrant who feared neither heaven nor earth. All spoiled children are like this, not taking anyone seriously. When the father-son relationship was mended, grandmother was in very good spirits. She gave me a cosmetics shop. She said the money earned from the shop didn't need to be reported to the Wei mansion. It could be considered my private treasury. William heard this and muttered, Emma knows how to calculate business. What if it loses money? In this mansion, who's better at losing money than you? Grandmother teased, and everyone in the room burst out laughing. William's cheeks puffed up in anger. I secretly poked him. While he hadn't reacted yet, I quickly said, I don't know how to calculate. You could teach me. I won't teach an idiot who only knows 8 characters. William lifted his chin arrogantly. Unless you. By the time he thought of a way to get back at me, I had already disappeared. Where's Emma? The young mistress went out. William ground his teeth in hatred and made a bet with Lucky. Believe it or not, within an hour, Emma will come back begging me. What could Lucky say? He could only placate the young master in front of him and wait for the young mistress together. 1 hour passed, then another. William's eyes were red and swollen from waiting, but I still hadn't returned. He turned the entire Way mansion upside down and finally found me at the steward's place. What are you doing here? Learning calculations. I shook the abacus in my hand. I've thought it through carefully. Although William knows how to read, he's actually a true spendthrift. If I really relied on him to teach calculations, I'm afraid the shop's business would be ruined. I need to find someone with great wisdom. Grandmother had wisdom, but her eyesight had been poor for years. Besides, teaching me would be very taxing. Going back and forth, I found Uncle Fu, the steward. Uncle Fu was a very good person, plump and round, looking like a laughing Buddha statue. The day I first came to the mansion, he was the one who told me that William had his own private kitchen. When I approached him, he happily agreed. Uncle Fu was the best teacher I'd ever met. Even when I calculated wrong, he didn't scold me. Instead, he praised my quick progress and capability. He was very patient, even more patient than the old scholar in our village. Every time I came to learn calculations, he prepared a plate of mung bean cakes for me, fragrant and sweet. After a month, I could click the abacus expertly. The mistakes I made before, I no longer made. Uncle Fu stood before grandmother praising me. The young mistress calculates both quickly and accurately. This old servant has nothing more to teach. I graduated successfully but felt a bit sad. No more sweet mung bean cakes to eat anymore. Haha. I wasn't sad anymore. Uncle Fu said if I liked mung bean cakes, he could make them for me to eat every day. I refused. Eating every day would make me sick of them. I want to eat 4 times a month. A steady stream lasts longest. William heard this and laughed until he fell over. Emma, you really have no ambition at all. Won over by just a plate of mung bean cakes. If I gave you plum blossom cakes, lotus root cakes with osmanthus fragrance, wouldn't you worship me like a deity? Of course not. My mother only knew how to make mung bean cakes. She never made those, just like the best dish I can make is fried eggs. Poor children like me, how could we have seen such fancy, luxurious things? Being able to fill our stomachs and not starve during famine years was already a great blessing. But William, he was a young master born in silk and brocade, with a golden spoon since childhood. The foolish young master didn't understand these things. On the 3rd day of the month, I woke up very early. Before leaving, I asked William, "Do you want to come out with me?" "Going out? I'm not going with you. Today I'm going to drunken Phoenix Tower." Today William wore a sky blue long robe, with several jade pendants hanging at his waist. Walking made them clink together. He was already naturally handsome with rosy lips and white teeth. After half a year of recuperation, his complexion was rosy. Plus, from teaching me to read, he'd spent all day in the study, giving him a scholarly air. The servants in the courtyard were used to seeing William beaten until he cried miserably. Suddenly faced with such a proper person, their faces turned red with embarrassment. William was very satisfied with these admiring looks. On the way, he even hummed a few songs. As soon as he left, little Jade ran over to remind me, "Miss Zhao will be at drunken Phoenix Tower today for the poetry competition. You should hurry and catch up with the young master. Otherwise, when the young master and Miss Zhao fall for each other at first sight, you'll be swept out of the mansion. Don't blame me for adding fuel to the fire then." Little Jade extended her hand. I gave her a chicken drumstick, and she gave me a piece of mung bean cake. I covered the basket and left. On the way, my face burned. Little Jade must be cursing me behind my back. I shouldn't have given her that mung bean cake. I walked and walked until I reached a small mound. It was my mother's grave. I laid out fried eggs, mung bean cakes, roasted chicken, and roasted duck before the grave, then knelt before the tombstone. Now I could read. I knew my mother's name was Susan Su. Books say that Lingya means precious jade. Jade is very valuable and should be treasured by the world. But my mother lived like a silent stone in a stream, her life full of accumulated suffering. Yet mother always smiled brightly, like a flower blooming in the mud. I wiped the tombstone clean over and over, telling mother, "Your Emma is now the young mistress of the Wei family. Life is very good. My husband is both handsome and obedient, a person with great prospects. Every day there are mung bean cakes and fried eggs, more than I can finish. Finally, I've saved enough money to buy you roasted chicken and many other delicious things I don't even know the names of, but you can no longer eat them. Tears rolled down my cheeks without me knowing when. Oh no, it's not me crying, it's the sky crying. It's raining. My wet clothes clung uncomfortably to my body. Because of the rain, I was a bit dazed, unable to tell if I was really crying or not. Perhaps I was. In my hazy state, I seemed to see Mother. She wore a light blue dress, the scarf on her head gently swaying. She reached her hand toward me. Your mother was once the most beautiful young lady in West Joe City, but the day she died, she was gaunt and withered like a dry stick. My mother died of starvation. I jolted awake, it was just a dream. When I woke up, I found myself being carried on someone's back. That person gently patted my back. Emma, don't cry. Emma, don't cry. I struggled. Put me down. I kicked, I hit, I thrashed at that person, but he just gritted his teeth and endured without making a sound. Just at the critical moment, someone I didn't expect ran over. You damn scoundrel. Let go of Emma immediately. It was William. I looked at him happily, but beside him stood a young lady with beauty that shamed flowers and made the moon hide. On the carriage was carved the character, Zhao. It must be William's sweetheart, Miss Zhao. I fell into Miss Zhao's arms. She wore the most fashionable pleated dress of the time. Her body was soft with a faint fragrance. I thought I understood why William liked her. If I were a man, I would also like such a gentle and elegant young lady. Of course, even as a woman, I really liked Miss Zhao too. Fists flying, kicks landing in the mud. William had thrown who knows how many punches, blood seeping into the earth. William wasn't satisfied with just hitting. He rushed up to kick a few more times until Lucky pulled at his sleeve, reminding him. Young master, stop hitting. That's the mistress's father. William's kicking foot suddenly froze, almost falling face first into the ground. What happened after, I didn't know because I had fainted. When I opened my eyes, William sat beside the bed with red-rimmed eyes, crying while sadly saying, Emma, wake up quickly. You eat 8 buns per meal. If you die, who will eat all these buns? Lucky coughed dryly twice. Young master, the mistress just caught a cold. It's not life-threatening. The doctor said she'll recover after taking medicine. Who would believe that? Who sleeps for 3 days straight from just a cold? So I had slept for 3 whole days. When I sat up from the bed, William was startled. After a moment, he came back to his senses, his arms tightly wrapping around me, hugging so tight I couldn't breathe. Emma, it's so good you didn't die. Wah wah wah. If you died, who would write the divorce letter for me? Does grandmother know? Why did she give me another gold ingot? I really cried non-stop. If only she were my real grandmother, how wonderful that would be. For the 10,000th time, I envied William. After recuperating for 3 more days, I finally remembered what happened that day. Where's my father? Mr. Lin is doing just fine now, eating and drinking well. Let me take you to see him. William had many things he wanted to say. He wanted to show off the small rabbit lantern he'd won at drunken Phoenix Tower. He wanted this fool to know that her husband was very talented in literature. But before he could speak his boasts, his hand unconsciously grabbed mine. Since when had Emma become a part of his life? Usually seeing her was a bit annoying, but truly losing her made him feel empty inside. I looked into William's eyes with some surprise. It was a gentle gaze I'd never seen before. After being sick once, he'd become much more obedient. Perhaps Miss Zhao liked gentle young masters. My head hurt. Forget it, I won't think about it anymore. When I met my father again, he was dressed neatly, looking somewhat dignified, completely different from my memories. He even carefully adjusted his clothes, brushing off non-existent dust, smiling ingratiatingly at me. I immediately kicked him to the ground, tearing his clothes. Take advantage while I'm still holding back. Get out of the way, Manjin, quickly. Otherwise, I'll take you to die with me. Emma. His face was swollen and red. He was beaten without fighting back, looking extremely pitiful. The servants in the mansion whispered among themselves. Some gave thumbs up praising little Jadey, Sister Jade, truly admirable. You dared to oppose such a fierce young mistress before and you're still alive. Little Jade rolled her eyes in anger. Compared to fear, everyone in the mansion was more amazed. After all, since arriving at the Way mansion, I had always shown myself to be straightforward, a bit foolish, and prone to using force like a soft bun with a stone filling. I'd never actively picked fights with anyone. William was scared to death. But after the fear, a hard-to-describe happiness welled up in his heart. Emma is so gentle to me, he said softly. I didn't hear because all my attention was focused on my father. You killed grandmother, killed my mother. Who else do you want to harm now? Who needs to watch your fake act here? Now I can I understand what that paper on the table is. My father's swollen red face immediately turned pale as if drained of blood. He lowered his head, put his clothes back on, and left the Way mansion. Before leaving, he stuffed 2 taels of silver into William's hands. Take good care of Emma. All of this was later recounted to me by William. If I had known, I definitely would have snatched all his money. Emma, you're really strange. Before, when I argued with my father, you clearly bet with him to make longevity noodles for me and tried to reconcile us. Why do you treat your own father like this? Lord Y is a good person, but my father isn't. He's a gambling addict. Lost at gambling and sold my mother's wedding jewelry, sold her clothes, sold our family's land and livestock. If the Way family hadn't paid a high price, you'd probably meet me in a brothel now. Now I can read. I know what that paper on the round table at home was, a body selling contract to sell me to a brothel. My parents were once a couple everyone envied, but then he got addicted to gambling. Debt collectors came right to our door. If mother hadn't sold all her wedding gifts, I wouldn't exist now. When the ancestral property was sold clean, only then did he regret and quit gambling. But it was too late, mother had already died. William, if you ever dare gamble in the future, I'll beat you to death. The emotions just forming in William's heart were choked to death by my words. Beat. Emma, besides beating me, what else can you do? You wait. This young master will sooner or later abandon you and marry a gentle young lady. As soon as he said it, William regretted it. Today when father was beaten, he stood right beside watching. Emma hitting people really hurt. Fine, seeing how angry you are today. This young master will give in once. But we agreed, you can only hit the buttocks. He covered his head and shifted his body, changing to a position convenient for me to hit. These past days he'd gotten used to it. Not getting beaten made him feel something was missing. Terribly uncomfortable. But he didn't expect the storm hadn't arrived yet. He heard me say, William, you can't abandon me. If you abandon me, my reputation will be ruined. I won't be able to marry anyone else. But when you pass the top scholar exam, I can write a divorce letter with you. You're so smart. Passing the exam in 3 to 5 years should be no problem, right? Then when you become top scholar and go propose to Miss Zhao, perhaps she'll agree. William was gleefully thinking, his head filled with only the sentence. I won't be able to marry anyone else. Humma, if you leave me, who else do you want to marry? If I were clever and knew better, I should have acted coy and avoided this topic. But I was a rock. I seriously thought it through. Roundface looks very fortunate. He's just a gardener. A gardener. So what? Having skis means not starving. Not starving is good, very good. William's jar of vinegar completely shattered. Now he just wanted to bite this heartless person standing before him to death. Thought became action. He immediately pounced. That day, the always weak third young master Wei successfully fought back, pinning Emma to the bed and biting continuously. A rabbit biting a tiger, impressive for only a moment. William, driven by jealousy to bite my cheek, was knocked down by one punch. Then I pinned him down and beat him all night. William's bottom swelled like a small hill. The usually lazy third young master experienced for the first time what it felt like to not be able to sit still. Clearly injured, William wasn't obedient at all. lying on the bed moaning and ordering me around. Emma, I want tea. Emma, I want osmanthus cakes. Emma, it hurts so much, blow on it for me. I admitted this was my fault. I accepted the punishment. But seeing William rolling around on me however he pleased, I slapped him. William, do you really like Miss Zhao? William sucked in a cold breath. Of course. Miss Zhao is gentle, graceful, understanding of propriety, not like you, a rough woman who only knows how to use force. If you like her, then don't tease me or the servants in the Wei mansion. You must wholeheartedly treat her well. William, there's no young lady in this world who wants to share her husband with others. William's throat moved. He wanted to say something, but his mind seemed blocked. William, if you truly admire Miss Zhao, I'll help you. You help me. What can you help me with? Emma, tell me, what can an idiot like you do to help me? William looked really beautiful. Even when angry, he was more attractive. But to win Miss Zhao's feelings, being handsome alone wasn't enough. Miss Zhao was graceful, elegant, with refined wisdom. Her family owned the largest fabric shop in West Zhou City with a renowned reputation. The Zhao family opened charity porridge shops every year to help the common people. The largest orphanage in the city was established by her, using her personal money on her coming-of-age day. Such a good young lady with such a family background. Not lacking William's money, his dissolute and frivolous nature truly wasn't worthy of her. Of course, not everyone thought like me. The wives of ordinary scholars in West Zhou City didn't. They often gossiped behind her back, mocking that Miss Zhao was pretending to be noble. Scholars, farmers, artisans, merchants, they thought no matter how rich Miss Zhao was, she wasn't as good as a small official. William, if you pass the top scholar exam, ride in a grand sedan chair with 8 carriers, with 10 miles of red dowry to marry Miss Zhao, she'll definitely reconsider you. No young lady can refuse sincere feelings. No young lady can refuse true sincerity. William smiled faintly with mockery. Then what about you, Emma? Don't you want to be the top scholar's wife? Oh, go away. Pack your things and get out of my room. Seeing I didn't move, he laughed mockingly. What? Didn't you say you wanted to cut all ties with me? Now when I really tell you to leave my room, you're reluctant. William squinted, thinking he'd regained face with words. With a loud thud, I really moved out. The room felt empty. William lay on the bed, furiously angry. Damn it! His foul mouth. By the time William decided to abandon his pride and come find me to reconcile, the entire Wei mansion had already spread the news that we were at odds, sleeping in separate rooms. Hearing that William and I had quarreled, his father specially took leave to come back and beat William. You little brat. Such a good wife and you don't know how to treasure her. Today I'll beat you to death. Grandmother, who usually doted on her grandson, rarely stood aside cheering. Hit him. Hit him hard. Vent Emma's anger. William was chased by his father for 3 laps around the house and 3 laps around the courtyard. Finally meeting me, he was saved. He grabbed my sleeve. Emma, this is all your fault. Now I'm seen as worthless. You need to explain clearly. I shielded him and apologized to father and grandmother. My husband still needs to take the top scholar exam. He can't be beaten. If he's beaten and fails the exam, it would be a huge loss for the Wei family. Upon hearing that William wanted to take the top scholar exam, the stick in Lord Wei's hand fell to the ground with a clang. Grandmother was also extremely shocked. As William going crazy, Lord Wei stepped forward to feel William's forehead. William angrily ground his teeth. Why do you all look down on me so much? It's not looking down. We originally didn't expect you to bring glory to our ancestors. As long as you don't cause disasters and harm the family, that's enough. William was choked speechless. Looking at his pitiful eyes, I squeezed his hand tightly. I believe in you. You're so smart, you can teach me to read, your handwriting is beautiful. You'll definitely pass the top scholar exam. William was moved almost to tears. Not until he woke up the next day did he realize yesterday's beating wasn't because of me. Angrily, he ran to my room. You need to explain clearly to me. William rushed to my room but didn't see any trace of me. He asked all the servants in the mansion before learning I was in the greenhouse growing flowers. He angrily rushed straight to the greenhouse. The scene before him almost made him die of anger. At that moment, I was picking flowers in the greenhouse with Henry's shoe. These flowers are cared for so well. Henry, you're really talented. Young mistress, you're too kind. Henry scratched his head, a bit embarrassed. Cough, 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 cough. William coughed until he almost lost a lung. He looked at Henry, then at the thorny flowers on the ground, deliberately puffing up his chest to compare. He wasn't as tall, wasn't as fair, wasn't as handsome, and his face was rounder. Emma, are you blind? What useless things are you growing here? Sooner or later I'll pull them all out for you to see. You can't. These are new flower varieties for the cosmetics shop. If you pull out these roses, watch out or I'll beat you. William was so angry he swung his hand and hit a rose. With a hiss, sharp thorns pierced straight into his palm. Emma, I'm bleeding. Quickly bandage me. William acted unreasonably like a child. I was afraid he'd harm the other flowers, so I quickly pulled him outside. After bandaging William's finger, he started being improper again. Inside William's heart, alarm bells were ringing. Although Henry wasn't tall, had a round face, and wasn't someone to be wary of, William discovered that when Emma looked at him, her eyes sparkled as if containing stars. How could she look at others with such eyes? William thought, drinking a sip of tea. Emma, you're increasingly not taking me seriously. The tea you serve is all sour tea. I tried a sip. It's not a mem. Before I could finish speaking, my mouth was captured by William. He glared at Lucky standing outside the door. The young mistress and I have adult matters to attend to. Close the door quickly. After Lucky left, unclear sounds of groaning came from the room. William held his head, his voice soft and pleading. Emma, be gentler. If you break me, how can I take the top scholar exam? Fine, you hit me first. After I become top scholar, I'll return today's humiliation bit by bit. After that day, William completely changed. He studied enthusiastically, his determination shocking the entire Way mansion. The servants even opened a gambling pool, betting on how many days William could persist. Days passed. Grandmother and father both recognized his determination. This time it was real. Father even specially invited an old friend who had retired to teach William. Even if he didn't pass as top scholar, learning more knowledge would be good. During this time, William became gentle and courteous. Every gesture and word resembled a scholarly gentleman from books. His pleasure, seeking friends, hearing this and thinking William was acting, came to the mansion to invite him to feast at the newly opened wine house at Fragrant Wine Tower. But William refused. They were somewhat angry and turned to criticize William, what are you pretending for? Who in West Joe City doesn't know you're an ignorant good for nothing? Don't think winning at drunken Phoenix Tower makes you great. Who knows if you bought it with money? We brothers gave you face inviting you to play. You really think you're some important figure. One more chance, come or not, don't blame us later. Since deciding to take the top scholar exam, William had become smarter. Right when they entered the courtyard, he sent Lucky to invite me. I hid behind the screen listening to these parasites slander him. Getting so angry I couldn't control myself. I grabbed the fire poker and beat them until their own mothers wouldn't recognize them. They were in pain and grinding their teeth. Just wait, we'll teach you a lesson. I just laughed. That night, carrying my abacus and debt notes, I went to find those young masters' homes to collect debts. People must read more, otherwise they'll be foolishly deceived to death without knowing. Like William before, he had no friends, was tricked and deceived by these young masters, becoming an exploited fool, and in the end was still mocked. Fortunately, he also knew to read, so he knew that borrowing money required debt notes. I beat William painfully, but beating these dog thieves hurt even more. They were beaten with swollen heads and didn't dare make another sound, each as obedient as a grandson. When returning to the mansion, William stood at the gate holding my hand and asking, Emma, does it hurt? I shook my head. Not hurt. This blood is someone else's. Several servants hiding behind walls eavesdropping couldn't help but suck in a cold breath, looking at little Jade with increasingly respectful gazes. Little Jade just smiled faintly. Keep looking. The more you look, the less you'll dare say anything. Without the interference of bad friends, William studied even more diligently. Sometimes steady reading sounds came from the western room, but most of the time there was only the sound of brush on paper. The servants began to guess whether William was pretending to study, like young Master Zhang in the southern city who read every day, but in the end couldn't even get a scholar's title. But William wasn't pretending. He was truly seriously studying. Reading didn't need to be loud, it just needed heart. While William studied, I managed the cosmetics shop business. The roses Henry grew were excellent. Made into powder and rouge, they had a light fragrance. The wives in the city all rushed to buy them. The powder and rouge business grew stronger and stronger. When the third cosmetics shop opened, Miss Zhao sent me a visiting card. Just when she wasn't looking for me, I was planning to find her. While researching powder and rouge with Henry, I discovered a type of flower that created beautiful colors when dyeing fabric. Put on the shelves in the cosmetics shop, it immediately sold out. The Zhao family was the leading family in the fabric dyeing industry. Miss Zhao had foresight and naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity. Miss Zhao spoke gently with noble bearing. Listening to her talk was truly a pleasure. Why is the young mistress looking at me like that? Sophia Zhao had never seen such pure eyes. Being looked at for so long, she wondered if something was wrong with her. You're truly beautiful. Conversations between girls were simple. Just a few sincere compliments could lead to talking all day. Sophia and I settled our fabric business deal. Miss Zhao was very generous. The Wei family provided the secret formula for cloud brocade fabric to the Zhao family. In return, the Wei family received 500 taels of silver, plus a share of profits from fabric sales. After concluding business, I wanted to keep Miss Zhao for a meal. But she had matters at the fabric shop and really couldn't stay. Thanks to our business dealings, the relationship between us grew closer. I called her Sister Sophia, she called me Emma. After New Year's, Sister Sophia had to go south to expand business. William showed great promise, ranking first in the provincial exam. But when going to the capital for the imperial exam, he caught a serious illness. After returning from the capital, he became thin and weak, losing his spirit. I went with him to have his fortune told for peace of mind. William, rarely cheerful, pulled the fortune teller to ask about romance. After asking, the master said he would ride a horse through the streets and meet good fate. What does that mean? Young master has good fortune. Whatever you wish for will come true. Only the path of romance is a bit rocky, you must divorce and remarry before meeting your heavenly match. Hearing the master's words, William's illness seemed to disappear, but anger flared up inside him. If I hadn't pulled him back, he almost burned down the temple. Though I hadn't read many books, I understood the master's words. William's good match wasn't me. Half a month later, William held a poem, excitedly showing it off to me. The great rock one day rides the wind soaring, rising 90,000 miles high. If the wind should stop and it falls, it can still stir the vast seas. The world sees I am different, hearing my words they all mock. Even Confucius respected the young, true men cannot look down on youth. Emma, do you know who gave me this poem?